Everyone loves Halloween until the night decides to love you back. This story isn't about costumes or candy. It's about what happens when Halloween stops being a celebration and becomes something that follows you home. Halloween always carried a strange energy, a mix of excitement, cold air, and something older, a feeling no one could explain but everyone felt. For Ahmed, Halloween was nothing but a night where kids knocked on doors asking for candy. No superstition, no ghosts, nothing unusual. Until that year. The year Halloween showed him a side of itself that wasn't meant for people. A side that waited for the sun to go down and the shadows to come alive. Ahmed and his 3 friends, Usman, Jamal, and Farhan, decided to explore the older part of town. A forgotten neighborhood filled with abandoned houses, boarded-up windows, and streets that felt too quiet for a holiday night. People called it Shadow Lane, a place everyone avoided. A place kids whispered about but never visited. A place where stories didn't start, they ended. The boys walked down the cracked pavement, flashlights dim in the heavy mist. The trees creaked overhead, shedding dry leaves that skittered across the road like tiny, frantic creatures. Laughter echoed in the distance, children trick-or-treating somewhere far away. But even that laughter sounded strange, forced, like it didn't belong to real children. Ahmed felt it first, that cold pressure on the back of his neck. As if someone stood behind him, watching. He turned. No one. Just darkness stretching down the street, the kind that swallows light instead of reflecting it. "Come on," Usman said, nudging him. "We didn't come all the way here to turn back now." But Ahmed wasn't convinced. His instincts twisted in his stomach, warning him that this night was different. They reached the end of the lane. And there it stood, a large, ancient house leaning forward like it was listening. Its wooden door hung crooked on broken hinges. Shattered windows stared out like empty, dead eyes. Every part of the house whispered one thing: "Leave, bro. We are not going in there," Ahmed muttered. Jamal grinned. "Why not? This is the perfect Halloween story." But Ahmed didn't want a story. He wanted to go home. Before anyone could say another word, tap. A single knock echoed from inside the house. The boys froze. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, rhythmic, like something knocking deliberately, like it knew they were listening. "That's not the wind," Farhan whispered. Then, as if someone inside grew impatient, the door suddenly swung shut, slamming so hard the ground trembled. The boys jumped back, and then they heard it. From deep inside the house, footsteps, slow, heavy, dragging, coming closer. Ahmed's breath grew shallow. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. "Let's get out of here," he said. But before they could move, something else happened. Something worse. A tall shadow slid across the upstairs window. It moved quietly, gliding instead of walking. It had no shape, no face, just darkness. Alive. The boys stared in horror as the shadow paused at the window, as if staring back at them. The air around them grew colder. Their breath turned white. Something unseen wrapped around their skin like icy fingers. "Guys," Jamal whispered. "What is that?" No one answered, because they all saw it. The shadow lifted its hand, slowly, and pointed directly at them. The boys stumbled backward. Ahmed felt a pull, like gravity itself bending, like the house was trying to draw him closer. Something wanted them inside, something that shouldn't exist. And the worst part? This was only the beginning. The boys ran. They didn't think, didn't talk, they just moved. Their footsteps slapped against the cracked pavement as they sprinted away from the house on Shadow Lane. But the cold didn't stay behind. It followed them. The farther they ran, the thicker the air became. Their lungs stung. Every breath felt like inhaling ice. By the time they reached the intersection at the end of the lane, all 4 stopped, gasping, hands on their knees. Jamal was the first to speak. "What was that?" No one answered him, because none of them had an answer. The night was quiet again. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that made your ears ring. Farhan rubbed his arms. "Why's it still so cold out here?" We're way past the house. Then Ahmed noticed it, their breath still visible, like they never left the shadow of that building. Usman looked back toward the lane and froze. Guys, look, at the very end of Shadow Lane, just barely visible through the fog. The house door was open again, wide open, and something stood in the doorway, tall, still, unmoving, like a silhouette carved from pure night. Ahmed felt the same pressure on the back of his neck again. We need to go, now. But before they could decide which way, the streetlights started to flicker, one by one, each bulb buzzing, then dying. Darkness crept closer with every flicker, like it was crawling toward them. Bro, what is happening? Farhan whispered, voice shaking. Ahmed swallowed hard. Let's get to your house, Jamal. It's closest. They walked quickly, almost jogging, trying to act like they weren't terrified. But they were. They were more scared than they had ever been in their lives. Jamal's house sat at the edge of the neighborhood, near an old playground. Normally it felt safe, warm, familiar. Tonight it felt too exposed, like something could reach it. They rushed inside, slammed the door, locked it, and for a moment, the world felt normal again. The warmth in the house melted the cold off their skin. The lights were steady. The air didn't feel heavy. It felt safe. But safety never lasts long on Halloween night. The boys gathered in the living room. Jamal's parents weren't home. They were at a late-night event downtown. The house was theirs for hours. Usman paced. I swear something was watching us. I could feel it, like a weight. Farhan sat with his head in his hands. That shadow, that thing. It wasn't human. Ahmed didn't talk. He stared at the window. Something about the night outside didn't feel right. The fog was thicker now. Too thick. Dense enough to swallow the whole neighborhood. Jamal tried to lighten the mood, forcing a laugh. Bro, maybe it was just some Halloween prank, you know? Like a projector or something. But no one laughed. Even Jamal's own voice sounded unsure. The boys sat in silence, listening. And that's when they heard it. Knock. A single knock at the front door. Soft, polite, too gentle for a child, too deliberate for a stranger. Farhan's eyes widened. No, 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 don't open it. I'm not opening anything, Jamal whispered. They waited. Knock. This time louder. Then a long silence. The kind of silence that feels like someone is listening on the other side of the door. Ahmed stood slowly. I'll check the peephole. Are you crazy? Usman hissed. Ahmed didn't answer. He stepped toward the door, each footstep sounding too loud on the wooden floor. He put his eye to the peephole. Nothing. Just fog. Not the street. Not the yard. Just a solid wall of white fog pressed against the door. Like someone or something was standing too close, blocking all view. Suddenly, a dark shape moved across the door's shadow. Slow. Smooth. Like it was gliding past. Ahmed stumbled back. What did you see? Jamal asked. Ahmed shook his head. Not a person. Something big. Before anyone could react. Thud. Something slammed against the side of the house. The walls vibrated, picture frames rattling. Thud. Again. Closer to the window this time. Like something circling the house. Farhan whispered. It's outside. The boys stood frozen. Then, from the back of the house, Skrekrea ape. A long dragging sound, like claws sliding down the exterior wall. Slow, deep, ugly. Usman covered his mouth, fighting the urge to scream. Jamal whispered, Don't move. Don't say anything. But something was moving. They heard it. Footsteps in the backyard. Heavy, slow, almost matching the same rhythm they'd heard inside the abandoned house. Ahmed reached for the curtains. Farhan grabbed his wrist. Don't look. But Ahmed had to. He pulled the curtain back just an inch. And what he saw froze every muscle in his body. A tall figure stood in the fog. Too tall. Its shoulders hunched forward. Its head tilted unnaturally. His face wasn't a face. Just a pale, blank surface. Smooth as clay. No eyes. No nose. No mouth. But it was staring. He could feel it staring. Ahmed's breath caught in his throat. His hand slipped off the curtain. "Guys," he whispered. It followed us. A second figure emerged behind the first. Then a third. 3 faceless shapes standing still in the fog. Just watching, waiting. And then, they began to walk toward the house. Slow steps, perfectly in sync. Silent. The boys backed away from the window. "What do we do?" Jamal whispered, voice trembling. No one answered, because none of them knew. And outside, the faceless shapes reached the porch, and the doorknob began to turn. The doorknob moved slowly, as if whoever or whatever was outside wanted them to hear it. Not forcing entry, not banging, testing. The boys stared at the handle, their bodies frozen, eyes wide, breaths held in their throats. A soft click echoed through the living room. Not the sound of the lock opening, but the sound of the metal twisting as the outside pressure increased. Usman whispered, voice barely audible. "It's locked. Right, Jamal? Right?" Jamal swallowed hard. "Why, yeah, I locked it when we came in. I'm sure I did." But the way the doorknob kept turning, slowly, deliberately, it made them doubt everything. Ahmed stepped back until his shoulders pressed against the wall. He felt cold sweat dripping down his spine. Then, silence. The doorknob stopped moving. The house suddenly felt too still, too quiet. The 4 boys stood there, staring at the door like it was about to attack. Farhan was the first to break the silence. Maybe they left? Jamal shook his head violently. "No, bro, things like that don't just leave." "What things?" Usman snapped, his voice cracking with fear. "We don't even know what they are." Ahmed looked at his friends, then at the door. "They followed us. They're not random. They're connected to that house." Farhan put his hands on his head. "I knew we shouldn't have gone in. I knew it." A sudden noise cut him off. Tap. A single, soft tap on the window behind them. The boys froze. Another tap. A little louder. The 3 faceless figures were no longer at the front door. They were standing outside the living room window, watching, waiting. But something had changed. There were now 4 of them. 4 tall silhouettes in the fog. Perfectly still. Perfectly aligned. 1 for each boy. Jamal stumbled backward, breathing fast. No, how? How are there more?" The tallest figure placed its hand on the glass. A long, pale hand with fingers that seemed too thin, too long, pressed gently against the window pane, not striking it, not trying to break it, just feeling it. Then, scrayerayup, the fingers began to drag down the glass, leaving faint trails of moisture in their wake. Usman nearly cried out. "Don't look at them," Ahmed whispered harshly. "Don't give them your attention." The scraping stopped. The hand slowly retracted into the fog. Another sound emerged. A deep, hollow breathing. Not human breathing. Not animal breathing. It sounded like the air itself was inhaling and exhaling. Slow, cold, heavy. Jamal stepped away from the window. Why are they doing this? No one answered him. Because the truth was growing clearer with every second. These things weren't trying to get inside. Not yet. They were studying the house. Studying them. Like predators learning how their prey reacts. The boys retreated to the center of the living room. No one sat. No one relaxed. They stayed standing, backs together, facing every part of the room at once. Like they had formed. A living shield. But the house was old. And it betrayed them. A sudden pop echoed from the back hallway. Then another. The lights flickered and died. Instant, suffocating darkness swallowed the entire house. "God, no, no, no!" Farhan yelled. Jamal scrambled toward the kitchen counter, hands searching in the dark. "Where are you going?" Usman hissed. "Flashlight. Drawer." Before he could reach it, thud, something hit the back door. Not a body, not a hand. Something heavier, something big. Another thud, then a long dragging sound. Like something was leaning its weight against the door frame, testing its strength. Ahmed grabbed Jamal in the dark. "Forget the flashlight. Just move." The boys stumbled down the hallway, hands brushing against walls, trying to navigate the pitch-black house. They reached Jamal's bedroom and slammed the door shut behind them. It wasn't much, but it was the only door with a lock. Jamal locked it instantly. They stood in the dark room, shaking, their breath loud enough to drown out the faint noises outside. The Halloween decorations on Jamal's shelves looked like strange shapes in the dark. Masks, plastic skulls, old costumes, all suddenly eerie in the faint glow from the window. Ahmed moved toward the blinds. "Don't," Farhan whispered sharply. "Don't look outside. Every time you look at them, they get worse." But Ahmed didn't open the blinds. He only checked if they were closed. They were. Complete darkness. Outside, the sounds returned. Slow, rhythmic knocking on different parts of the house. First the kitchen window, then the back door, then the living room wall. Not chaotic, not violent, just testing. The breathing sound intensified. Not from one place, from everywhere. Like the whole house was surrounded. Usman sat on the floor, gripping his knees. "We're not going to survive this, bro. This is it." Jamal dropped beside him. "Stop. Don't say that. We just have to wait this out. My parents will come home soon." Ahmed shook his head slowly. "No, they won't." The room went silent. "What do you mean?" Farhan whispered. Ahmed sighed shakily. "When we left the house on Shadow Lane, did you notice something strange?" They looked at him. The street, the fog, the cold. None of it changed the entire way here. Like we never left that area. Slow realization washed across their faces. Usman's voice trembled. "Bro, you're saying?" Ahmed nodded. "We didn't run away from the house." He pointed to the darkness. "It brought itself with us." A soft creak interrupted him. The boys all turned toward the bedroom door. The doorknob was turning. Slowly, precisely, deliberately. Farhan whispered, "No, no, I locked it. I locked it." The knob turned again, and again, and again. Then, click, the lock disengaged from the inside. The boys stumbled backward in terror. The door handle pressed down, and it began to open. Just an inch, then two. Blackness beyond the doorway. No figure, no face, just darkness, and that impossibly deep breathing. Then a shape emerged. First a hand, thin, pale, fingers too long, gripping the edge of the door. Then another hand, slowly pulling the door wider. No one screamed. They couldn't. Their voices were trapped by pure terror. The thing stepped inside. Its tall, faceless head scraped the top of the doorframe, its entire body bending unnaturally just to enter. It stood in the room, motionless, silent, watching them without eyes. The boys pressed back against the wall, trembling violently. Ahmed whispered, "Don't move, don't breathe." But it was too late. The thing lifted its hand and pointed at them, one by one, like choosing who would be the first. Then, somewhere in the house, another door opened. Something else had entered. Many something else's. The sound of the second door opening somewhere deeper inside the house froze the boys more violently than anything they'd heard before. It wasn't loud. It wasn't forceful. It was gentle, almost polite, like a guest entering without permission, but without hesitation. The tall, faceless figure standing inside Jamal's bedroom did not turn toward the sound. It remained hunched, towering, head dipped, pointing at the boys with its long, pale hand. Ahmed's heartbeat pounded in his ears like drums. He could barely breathe. The figure's presence was suffocating. Like the air around them had thickened into cold cement. Farhan's knees buckled, and he slid down along the wall, unable to keep himself upright. Usman grabbed his arm to steady him, but he himself was trembling so badly he could barely hold on. Jamal pressed back against the wall near his closet, eyes locked on the figure. And then, footsteps, soft, slow, measured, coming down the hallway. Not one set, not two, multiple. The hallway floor creaked under their weight. Creak, 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 stopping right outside Jamal's room. The faceless figure inside the bedroom finally moved. Its head turned, not like a human head turns, but like something bending clay, slow, cracking motions, unnatural angles. As it turned fully toward the doorway, the shadows in the hallway seemed to bend around something tall. Then a second faceless shape stepped into view. Smaller than the one inside the room, thinner, head tilted at a disturbing angle as if listening. Behind it, another shape, then another, for figures, silent, still, standing in a row, blocking the exit. Each one different in height, posture, and shape, but all of them sharing that same pale, featureless face. It no longer felt like an attack, felt like a gathering. Usman's voice came out as barely a whisper. Why are they here? What do they want? No one answered, because none of them knew if these things even wanted anything. They behaved like beings following an instinct older than human logic. The tall figure inside the room lowered its pointing hand. Slowly, deliberately, then its chest expanded. Not like breathing, more like the entire torso stretching outward, swelling unnaturally, as if inhaling the very warmth from the room. The temperature dropped instantly. Their breath became visible again. Frost formed along the inside of Jamal's window. "Hey Ahmed," Jamal whispered. "What's it doing?" But Ahmed couldn't answer. He was transfixed, staring at something the others hadn't noticed yet. The tall figure's face, the blank surface, was changing. Very slowly, faint shapes began to press outward from beneath the skin. Indentations, contours, the beginning shapes of features, eye sockets, a hint of a nose ridge, the faint suggestion of lips, like it was trying to form a face, but didn't know how, or was copying theirs. The boys all instinctively leaned back against the wall, trying to get as far away from the creature as possible. Usman whispered shakily, "It's mimicking us." Suddenly, the figure stopped moving. This half-formed face twitched. A sharp, cracking sound echoed as its head jutted upward, like a glitch. Then all four of the creatures in the hallway responded. In perfect synchronization, all of their heads snapped upward at the same moment, like puppets tugged by invisible strings. Then they began to walk into the room, one step each, silent, precise. The boys' breaths hitched. The room wasn't big enough for this many beings. They would have nowhere to run. Jamal's voice finally cracked. "We're going to die, we're going to die, we're going to die." Ahmed grabbed his arm. Stop, don't panic. They're not attacking us yet." Farhan choked out, "Why yet? That's supposed to help." The creatures now stood mere feet away. So close the boys could feel the cold radiating from their bodies. The air around them shimmered faintly, like the breath of something not meant for this world. The tall one stepped forward. It leaned down, so close its faceless head was inches from Ahmed's. Its breath, cold as winter, washed over him. He felt something in his chest tighten painfully. His heart stuttered. The creature raised its hand again and rested its long fingers against Ahmed's cheek. The touch was ice. Not painful, but draining, like it was pulling something from him. Memories, warmth, life. Ahmed gasped, feeling dizzy. The edges of his vision darkened. "Ahmed!" Jamal yelled, lunging forward. But before he could reach him, boom! A violent slam shook the entire house. A door somewhere downstairs had burst open. Then, a human voice. "Hello? Is anyone inside?" The boys froze. The creatures froze. It was a man's voice, muffled but real. Hope flickered inside the boys' chests like a spark. Another voice followed the first. "Police department. If anyone is inside, announce yourself. Police. Outside. In the house." The faceless creatures slowly retracted their hands. All of them, at the same time, turned their heads toward the bedroom door, toward the sound of human voices. Jamal whispered, They don't like that. They're reacting." Farhan whispered, Maybe the police can save us." Ahmed staggered backward, regaining his breath. No, listen." The creatures began to move, not toward the boys, but toward the hallway, silent, fast. They glided out of the room, disappearing into the dark corridor like shadows, dissolving into deeper shadow. The boys rushed to the bedroom doorway, peeking out into the hall. The faceless things moved down the hallway with unnatural speed, their limbs folding and unfolding as they passed, heading toward the stairs, toward the front door, toward the police. Jamal's eyes widened. "We have to warn them." But before he could finish, a loud, sharp, inhuman shriek erupted from downstairs. Not the creatures' voices. A police officer screaming in terror. Another scream followed. A crash. A body hitting the floor. Then silence. Absolute silence. The boys stood trembling in the darkness, understanding one thing clearly. The creatures weren't afraid of the police. They were only interrupted. And now, they were returning. Farhan whispered shakily, "What do we do now?" Ahmed's voice was hollow. "Run. We run before they come back up." But when they stepped into the hall, they heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Returning. Coming up the stairs. Not human. Not police. The creatures were coming back. The boys barely dared to breathe. Every step in Jamal's old house seemed amplified, echoing through the empty rooms like the sound of their own panic. The faceless creatures had retreated for now, but the memory of their presence lingered. Heavy, oppressive, cold. Ahmed's heart pounded. "We can't stay here. We have to move before they come back." Farhan shook violently. "Move where? The whole neighborhood is fogged over. It's like we never left Shadow Lane." Usman swallowed hard. "They followed us from that house. Maybe we can't escape them anywhere." The air felt dense, as if every inhalation pulled ice into their lungs. Jamal grabbed a flashlight from the drawer he had abandoned earlier. Its weak beam shook as he turned it on. The room came alive with trembling shadows. "Okay," Ahmed whispered. "We need to check if the doors are still locked." Quietly. Slowly, the boys crept through the hallway. Every step felt like it carried them closer to doom. Every shadow seemed to twist unnaturally as they passed. Ahmed led the way, listening for even the faintest sound of movement from upstairs. The house was eerily silent. No footsteps, no creaks from the old wood. Nothing, until a faint scraping came from the far end of the hallway, near the front door. Usman froze. "They're back," he whispered, voice shaking. Ahmed raised a hand. "No, wait, listen." The sound wasn't footsteps. Not exactly. It was soft, like fingernails dragging along the wood. Slow, methodical. And then the doorknob started to rattle. Not violently, not like a break-in. Like a slow, deliberate twist and turn, testing the lock, testing them. The boys pressed themselves against the walls, staring at the door as if willing it not to open. Farhan whispered, "They're not human. None of this is human." Jamal shook his head. "We need to get out now. The back door, the garage, anything." They moved cautiously toward the kitchen, flashlight beams bouncing across counters and cupboards. Each shadow felt alive. Each corner seemed to stretch further than physics allowed. As they reached the kitchen window, Ahmed froze. Outside, in the foggy yard, were more faceless figures. Not for this time. At least 6. They weren't moving fast. Just standing, watching, waiting. Ahmed's breath caught. They're surrounding the house. A cold dread slid over them, heavier than the October night air. The boys realized the terrifying truth. They weren't just trapped inside. They were trapped everywhere. The yard, the street, Shadow Lane, their path home, everything. Suddenly, the faint sound of glass shattering upstairs made them jump. "What now?" Farhan gasped. A second later, the faint outline of a faceless figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Its limbs bent in impossible ways. Its head tilted unnaturally, and the room temperature dropped so sharply that condensation formed on the kitchen window. Jamal raised the flashlight, trembling. "Stay back. Stay the hell back." The figure didn't move toward the light, tilted its head, and then it pointed at them. All 4 boys froze. It wasn't pointing to strike. Not yet. It was signaling, like they had been chosen. Farhan whispered, voice shaking. "Chosen for what?" Ahmed didn't answer, because he already knew. They weren't being hunted, they were being studied. Like prey, like test subjects. Hours or maybe minutes. Time had lost meaning, passed in silence. The fog outside thickened. The air felt heavier. The house seemed to expand unnaturally, hallways stretching longer, doors appearing where they hadn't been before. It was a labyrinth, a trap, an extension of whatever those creatures were. Every corner they turned revealed another shadow, another figure. Movement in the dark, subtle but unmistakable. At one point, Ahmed caught a glimpse of a figure in the kitchen doorway that mirrored him perfectly. It wasn't faceless, yet it had no expression. It was him. Ahmed recoiled. What the hell? Jamal grabbed his arm. Don't look at them. Farhan stammered. They're copying us. Usman turned his flashlight toward the hallway. There, at the end of the hall, the tall, faceless figure from Jamal's bedroom stood again. And now it had two more joining it. 8 figures, silently watching. The boys realized they were outnumbered, outmatched, and the house itself was no longer a refuge. It was a prison, and the night had only just begun. The boys moved cautiously through the kitchen, flashlight beams trembling, illuminating the warped walls of Jamal's house. Every surface seemed to shift subtly, as if the house itself were alive, breathing, watching, stretching. Their hearts pounded so violently they could hear them echo in the empty rooms. Each step they took felt heavier, as though gravity had doubled in intensity, pressing them down. Ahmed, we have to find a way out, Usman whispered. We can't stay here. They're everywhere. Ahmed nodded, trying to steady his shaking hands. We need to stick together. No one goes alone. Farhan peeked toward the hallway. They're not in the hallway right now. Jamal swallowed hard. Then we move now. Quick, quiet, and stay close. They tiptoed toward the back door, which had always led to Jamal's small, overgrown backyard. But when Ahmed reached for the handle, his fingers brushed against nothing. The handle was gone. What the hell? Farhan whispered, panicked. Ahmed felt along the edge of the door. Solid wood. But no lock, no knob, no exit. Jamal's voice shook. The back door. It's gone. Usman spun in a full circle, shining the flashlight on the walls. They weren't the same. Hallways twisted into each other. A staircase led to a wall. A doorway opened into another doorway, only to end in black emptiness. It's like the house is alive, Ahmed muttered, voice trembling. Like it's changing with us inside it. Farhan's knees buckled. We're trapped. We're so trapped. A faint sound caught their attention. Soft, deliberate footsteps coming from above. Not running. Not chaotic. Calm. Methodical. The boys froze. From the top of the staircase, the faceless figures emerged. 8 of them. Then another. Then another. 12. All identical in their pale, featureless faces. Long limbs bent unnaturally. Shadows stretched around them like tendrils. And then the tallest one spoke. Not a voice. Not a human sound. A low, echoing vibration that shook the air around them. A sound that bypassed ears and hit directly into the chest. The boys staggered backward. They couldn't scream. They couldn't run. The figures began to glide down the staircase. Silent, fluid, horrific. Ahmed realized something. It wasn't random. They weren't hunting blindly. The figures were studying fear, watching reactions, copying movement, predicting the boys' every instinct. Jamal whispered, voice barely audible. They know. They know exactly what we're thinking. Farhan shook violently. How is that even possible? They're not human. Ahmed gritted his teeth. Focus. We find a hiding spot. Maybe if they can't see us, maybe we survive. The boys darted toward Jamal's bedroom closet, slipping inside. It was cramped, claustrophobic, but it would have to do. Outside the door, they heard the sliding, scraping sound again. Closer this time. One of the faceless figures paused at the doorway, tilting its head. Its blank face seemed to stare directly at the boys, then turned. slowly, and left. The silence that followed was heavier than the shadows. The house seemed to breathe. Walls creaked. Floors groaned. The boys couldn't tell if it was the house or the creatures moving somewhere out of sight. Hours or maybe minutes passed. Time had lost all meaning. Finally, Ahmed whispered, "We have to try again. We can't stay here forever." The boys pressed themselves together, opened the closet door, and crept back into the hallway. Every step felt like walking through water. Every shadow seemed to stretch and reach for them. At the end of the hallway, a faint glow appeared, like moonlight shining through the front door. "Hope." The boys exchanged desperate glances. "Just one step at a time," Ahmed whispered. Slowly, cautiously, they moved toward the glow. But before they could reach it, a cold, unseen hand brushed against Ahmed's shoulder. He screamed. The hallway behind them rippled. The shadows twisted. The faceless figures were no longer upstairs. They were behind them, and they were moving faster than any human could. Ahmed's scream echoed through the twisting, impossible hallways. The faceless figures were behind them, moving with impossible speed. Their limbs bent at angles no human could survive. Silent, precise, and relentless. Farhan grabbed Ahmed's arm. "We have to move. Now." Jamal pointed toward a faint glow at the end of the corridor, the front door. The last chance for escape. They ran. Each step felt like running through water. The air was thick, almost solid, pressing against their chests. Every creak of the floorboards behind them made their stomachs churn. The tallest faceless figure lunged from the corner, a blur of pale, elongated limbs. Usman screamed, spinning, trying to dodge it, but it passed through him like a shadow. No touch, no resistance. Ahmed's breath came in sharp, icy gasps. It's reading us. It knows everything we're going to do." Farhan cried, "Just get to the door." The hallway twisted. What should have been a short sprint became an endless maze. Doors appeared where there were none. Hallways bent back on themselves. Each turn brought another shadow, another faceless figure, waiting silently. The boys stumbled into the living room. The front door was there, but farther than it should have been. The fog outside pressed against the glass. Thick, impossibly thick. The faceless figures flanked them. 12 now, maybe more. The shadows in the corners moved independently, like they had lives of their own. Ahmed grabbed the doorknob. It was ice cold. He twisted it. Locked. Locked. Open it. Jamal shouted, panic rising. Ahmed tried again. The knob wouldn't budge. From behind, a low vibration filled the room. The tallest figure raised its hand. Slowly, menacingly, a pressure in Ahmed's chest. Not physical. Something mental, like fear itself was being pulled from him, leaving only raw terror. Farhan stumbled backward, falling to the floor. Usman whispered, voice trembling, We can't fight them." Suddenly, a crash. The back door had burst open. Light from the street cut through the fog like a blade. Jamal's eyes widened. "The back door! Go!" They sprinted across the room. The shadows followed. But this time, the fog outside seemed different, thinner, real. They reached the door. Ahmed yanked it open. Cold air hit them. The night outside was silent, almost normal. For a moment, hope surged. And then the faceless figures appeared in the yard. Not gliding, walking, slow, deliberate steps, surrounding the house. Ahmed shouted, "Run! Just run!" The boys didn't hesitate. They bolted across the yard, sprinting toward the street. The fog began to thin with every step. And then, lights, cars, neighbors, a man walking his dog. The faceless figures paused at the edge of the fog. The tallest one raised its hand one last time. A silent warning. Then, slowly, they receded. The boys didn't stop running until they reached Jamal's neighbor's porch, shaking, gasping, covered in sweat and frost. Farhan finally spoke, voice trembling. Did we?" Ahmed shook his head. "I don't know. I don't know if they let us go, or if they just weren't finished with us." Jamal looked back at the house. The fog swallowed it again. Silent, empty, normal. The street lights flickered, then stabilized. It was over, for now. But none of them could shake the feeling that they were being watched. That the faceless figures were still out there, waiting, and that Halloween night, they realized, was never really over. The boys huddled together on the porch, shaking uncontrollably, their breaths visible in the cold night air. For a moment, the fog seemed gone. The streetlights glowed softly, and the neighborhood appeared calm. Too calm. Ahmed finally spoke, voice low. "We survived, for now. But something tells me it's not over." Farhan shivered. "It's Halloween. Maybe it ends with the sunrise." Jamal shook his head. "No, things like this don't end. Not really. They wait. They watch. And next time," the words hung in the cold air. They didn't need to finish the sentence. Hours later, after the adrenaline had worn off slightly, the boys tried to convince themselves it was over. Back inside Jamal's house, they inspected the rooms. Nothing. Doors were normal. Windows intact. The walls were the same old peeling paint they'd known for years. "It's like it never happened," Usman whispered. Ahmed stared at the ceiling. "Or like it never left." They sat in silence, too terrified to speak, too exhausted to move. Then the sound returned. Soft, far away, a scraping on the back door. All four froze. Farhan whispered, "No, no, and not again." Jamal grabbed the baseball bat from his closet. "If it comes in, we fight. We have to." The scraping became louder, then a soft knock. Single, deliberate, measured. The boys stared at each other, paralyzed. Ahmed's mind raced. Do we open it? Or do we hide again? Before anyone could answer, the doorknob slowly turned. They didn't run. They couldn't. The door creaked open. Nothing. Just fog. The same thick, unnatural fog from before. Then, a shadow detached itself from the mist. Tall, faceless, limbs bending unnaturally. The boys froze. They stepped onto the porch. Slowly, careful, watching them, not attacking, not yet, just observing. Ahmed whispered, "They're back for us." Jamal gripped the bat tighter. "Then we fight. We survive. No matter what." The shadow moved closer, and then suddenly it stopped. A sound echoed from the street. A human voice, a dog barking, car engine. The shadow hesitated, tilted its head. The fog began to recede. Slowly, it retreated, not disappearing but waiting, watching, from the yard, from the trees, from the shadows. The boys finally exhaled, shaking violently. They realized one truth. Halloween night wasn't over. It would never truly be over. The faceless figures were still out there, always watching, waiting for the next chance. And deep in their bones, the boys knew this night had changed them forever, forever haunted. The fog had settled outside Jamal's house, thick and suffocating, curling around the streetlights like ghostly fingers. Inside, the boys were silent, each one lost in a spiral of fear. Hours had passed, but it felt like an eternity. The faceless figures hadn't returned yet, but the oppressive presence of the unknown lingered in every shadow. Ahmed whispered, "We can't stay here. We have to leave now." Jamal shook his head. "No, if we go outside, they're waiting for us. We can't outrun them. Not in the fog. Not in the street. Not anywhere." Farhan shivered. "Then what do we do? Sit here and wait to die?" Usman's jaw tightened. "No, we face them. One last time." The boys stared at him, panic written across their faces. "You're insane," Jamal muttered. "No," Usman said firmly. "We have to understand them. We have to end this, or it will never stop." They armed themselves with whatever they could find. A baseball bat, a kitchen knife, a flashlight, a heavy metal lamp. Their weapons weren't meant to hurt the faceless figures. They wouldn't. They were meant to give them courage. The house was eerily quiet. The creaks of the floorboards seemed louder than before. The shadows hung in every corner, moving subtly, like eyes following their every movement. Ahmed led the way to the living room, where the front door beckoned. The fog outside swirled, thick as a wall. Then, a noise. Soft, deliberate. Footsteps. Multiple sets. They weren't human. Not exactly. The boys froze. From the mist outside, the tallest faceless figure appeared first. Then another, and another. One by one, the silhouettes emerged. 8 in total. They didn't move fast. They didn't attack. They just stood there, waiting, watching. Ahmed's hands shook. They're testing us. Like before. Jamal gritted his teeth. We don't get tested. We fight. The tallest figure took a step forward. Slowly, its limbs bending unnaturally, its faceless head tilted as if analyzing them.